Okay. You ready, Angela? All right, here we go. Hey, you want to call the September 29th, 2021 meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission to order. Thanks, everyone, for coming. I have an important notice pursuant to Senate Bill 2475, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18. This meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. All meetings and hearings listed in the agenda will also be done so through remote participation. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or other parties with a right and or a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website at www.shrewsburyma.gov/coronavirus. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. To listen to this meeting, dial +929-234-4476 and enter the following PIN: 909-560-604#. Please mute your device. I'm going to mute my phone right now.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say the phone number again because I think we missed a number.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was
please.
a 6 rather
Sorry.
than 4.
Yeah. So if you call in, if you're watching on TV, you can call in at 1-929-236-4476. And then you're going to enter the PIN number 909-560-604#.
Okay. Also, for anyone who's this should also be broadcast at some date after the meeting at the Shrewsbury Media Connection, which you can get to on the web. So there's plenty of you can actually have. There's actually an app for your phone. So call the meeting to order, and the second item on the agenda is the appointment of the at-large seat for a 3-year term to be voted on by the 3 citizen reps from Worcester, Grafton, and Shrewsbury. So the seat that I'm actually sitting in right now is the at-large seat, and it is appointed by the rep from Grafton, the rep from Worcester, and the rep from Shrewsbury. And right now it's up for reappointment. So if is there a nomination?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a nomination for Peter Collins to again occupy that seat.
I second
Okay.
the nomination.
All right, I accept. Is there a vote? I'll have to do a roll call vote. Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
Ms. Lavoisier,
Aye.
Mr. Pica.
Aye.
Okay, so voted. Thank you very much, guys. Number 3, review and act on acceptance of minutes of the July and August 2021 meeting minutes. So does everyone have a chance to review those? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Is there a motion to accept the,
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the July and August 2021 meeting.
okay? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do, I have to do a roll call. I'm gonna do the whole roll call so I can tell who's here and who's not here, which I should have done at the top of this. But Peter Collins, aye. Michael Pica,
Aye.
Sergeant Vitos,
Aye.
Captain DeAndre, or? what's
Sergeant Gorman's here for Captain DeAndre. Aye.
Thank you, Sergeant. Ken Polito. Okay, thought I saw Ken on here. Jonathan Nickerson. Amanda Amory. Lisa Lavoisier.
Aye.
And Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 4, review and approval of bills and expenses. What do we have? You're on mute, Angela. The professional that you are.
I can't find the list. Hold on.
Oops. Okay. No worries.
Okay, sorry about that. The expenses for September, an ESS bill for $3,168 for the Half Moon Bay Procyllicor pilot study. Solitude bills, $275 to perform the herbicide treatment to 5 acres in Flint Pond. $3,850 for the herbicide treatment to a 14-acre area in Newton Pond. $500 to prepare and file the Mass DEP permit applications for Lake Quinsigamond and Flint Pond, and also Newton Pond. And then $9,830 to perform the Procyllicor treatment at Half Moon Cove.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve paying these bills.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion. Michael Pica.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go through the roll again. Mr. Pica.
Aye.
Sergeant Vitos.
Aye.
Sergeant, I'm sorry. I don't have your last name written down here. I should have done that.
It's Gorman.
Sergeant Garman. Thank you. Ms. Amory, I saw you come on.
Yes. Aye.
Okay. Ms. Labossiere
Aye.
and Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. So voted. So we're right about a minute away from the hearing. So I don't think we should probably jam anything else in here.
I just drove all the way to the Shrewsbury Town Hall to attend the meeting.
Oh, sorry, Amanda.
I'll just attend it while I'm driving home.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're making the effort. That's above and beyond the call of duty.
Hello?
Hello.
Somebody said hello.
Okay. Who's that?
Are we waiting for quorum?
No, no, we're good for the quorum. I'm waiting for 7:10 for the hearing.
Oh, the hearing, yeah.
Yeah, which it just turned. So
It
it's
says
7.
7:10 on my clock.
Yep.
Hello?
So just want to go the public hearing continuation for dock removal at 2 Suntag Road, Worcester, Mass. The dock is actually not at 2 Suntag Road, Worcester, Mass, but that's where the owner lives. I just want to preface our moving into this discussion regarding this situation, in that, you know, we're a bit limited in the scope of our ability to make a decision here or about what happens to this dock. And basically that's, you know, as narrow as does the dock comply with the rules of Lake Quinsigamond, is, you know, in regards to docks. So, you know, in this particular instance, the you know, the dock, the
Hello?
part of the rule that we're concerned with. Hello, someone talking? The part of the part of the rule that we're talking about is you know, whether the dock is on
Hello?
the land of a landowning abutter. So,
Hello?
okay, someone
Who's
keeps saying
saying
hello.
hello?
Yeah, I don't know who keeps saying hello, but
I believe it's Mike Pica.
oh, Mike, yeah, I think you're right. I just saw him leave the meeting. Okay. All right. So with that, is there anyone in attendance from 2 Suntag Road?
Yes, I am. I'm Craig Krakorin, and my wife Donna is with me.
Okay. So Craig, what's I wasn't at the meeting last month. I got to view it for, you know, how long the hearing went on at that point. But
Yep.
if you want to start that part over again, I hate to make you do it again, but
No, that's no worries.
yeah.
Basically, what I was saying last meeting is that, you know, I've lived here for 20 years, and you know, when I moved in, talking with the neighbors and whatnot, they had lived here. Most of the neighbors had lived here for basically generations, for decades, and said that they had always used that area at the end of the street kind of as a communal area, and there was no problem putting a dock down there. So I went through the proper channels, filled out an application. At the time, I had met with people from the Lake Commission, the chief of police of Shrewsbury, and they granted me permission to put the dock out there. And as the years went on, new neighbors came in, and we found a way to, you know, share the space and accommodate having, you know, some small boats. We all had small boats out there, you know, 19 feet or whatnot. And it was, you know, it was very cordial and peaceful and whatnot. What's happened since then, I guess, you know, basically what some of the precipitators of this is that we got some new neighbors, and we had said that, you know, we share the space and things like that, and we put small boats out there. And one of the new neighbors had gotten a much larger pontoon boat, which is kind of too big for the space. And that caused some friction amongst some other new neighbors, and this is kind of where we're at. So.
Okay. Is there any comment or discussion from the commissioners or any questions you have for Mr. Krikorian. Okay, I don't hear anything. Is there? I guess the question I have here, the big question, I guess, is that, you know, what is the ownership of the land that the dock is sitting on? You know, we're looking at a picture right now. Who owns that land?
So the street, it's a private street, and the street basically goes at the end of the street. So, and it goes into the ramp on the other side. There's a set of stairs that goes down to a little, seating area, beach type area, and then the dock. So, so who actually owns that land? In terms of that particular area, it's a private street. So, from my understanding, it's sort of a communal space within all of the residents of the street.
Okay. Is there typically on a private road, my understanding of this is that the abutter to the road owns to the middle of the road, concurrent with their property line. So if you're looking at number 2, for example, you would own to the beginning of the road, to the middle of the road, in between the two side lot lines, the one bordering number 4 Sontag and the one closest to Lake Ave.
I'm not sure that's 100% accurate. I think
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Okay. Just let me. Can Mr. Krikorian please finish his point?
Yeah.
Then you're up after that.
Yeah, I don't think that we own out to the middle of the road. We still have a property line, but a private street is basically in Worcester, we're responsible for the maintenance of the road. If it is plowed for emergency vehicles and things like that, but we're responsible for the maintenance of the road, but we don't own out to the road. We're not taxed on that on that property, from my understanding. So it's a private street that kind of everybody on the street is responsible for it. Just to give you an example, a few years back, part of the road was a dirt road, and to get it paved through the city would have taken an act of Congress. So we all chipped in our own money and had the street paved ourselves. So that's just one example of how, as a street, as a small private street, we take care of it. But we don't technically own out to the street, but we're responsible for the maintenance of the street.
Okay. So what you're saying is you technically don't own the street. You're just responsible for the maintenance.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the technicalities of it, but that's what my understanding is of it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there a homeowners association fee or document that memorializes the responsibility of everybody that lives on that road?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Forgive me if I crucify this name. Sapo?
Spayu, but
Spayu.
That's close enough, Mr. Chair.
Yep, that's kind of way off. All right.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm actually sharing the screen for everyone who's on a computer. Provide a visual, at least, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And this particular slide over here. So first and foremost, I reside at 3 Sontag Road. together with Craig, we share the dock. I have lived here since 2012 and have had absolutely no issues whatsoever with the neighbors, with the dock, and everything else, on this the private way. So to answer one of your earlier questions, this particular map is from the city of Worcester, the assessor's office. And the highlighted property line is basically, what the city taxes every property under. So property at 4 Sontag Road, it clearly defines here their property line. Okay, and based on the picture that you saw earlier, the dock is not on their land. It is on the shoreline of the private street. So I had some help in doing some research further, so we could help this meeting along. And I took the liberty of putting together, and I hope everyone can read. So the Mass General Law, is Chapter 82, Sections 21 through 24, do speak to the statutory private ways, such as Sontag Road here in Worcester, Massachusetts. So to answer, again, another question you asked, no one really owns the road. So the city of Worcester owns the road, okay, and they have no obligation to maintain it. So, the road is basically for the benefit of the 6 families who live on the street. So we have 3 homes that have access, waterfront access. They have deeded waterfront rights, and we've got 3 properties that do not. However, all 6 properties have equal rights to the use of the private way. Okay, so obviously the public does have full access to the road, but not to the extent that the beneficiaries of the private way do. So not only do the 6 homes here, on the street have equal rights to the private way, but I believe we have equal rights to the waterfront that the private way allows us. And this particular dock, is clearly on the shoreline of the private way. And I've got yet another picture here to demonstrate, some the way the rest of the frontage looks. So obviously we have an easement from the city of Worcester that was put in some 30 years ago. We have a drainage line that comes down from Lake Avenue, the lowest point here. And we, as neighbors, we maintain that. We've been responsible for cleaning it up. We're cleaning up, plastics and bottles that come from the street and what have you not. We have, as you can see to the right, we do have some limitations due to a ramp that was put there many years ago as well. So the only access we have to the water, given these limitations, is this little patch of land, which is clearly, again, on the shoreline of the private way. So that's again, that those are the facts, right? And they're undisputed.
Can you go back? Mr. Spire, can you go back to the previous slide with the legislation on there, with the code?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I can see where the dock's positioned. The dock itself, with the position of the dock itself, isn't we don't have an issue with your access to the lake, access to the water. That's not in dispute here. It looks like it doesn't say you have a right of way to the water, but I don't think that's in dispute here. I think that the evidence that goes against you here is that that it is not owned by those individuals who have the right to use the way. So what they're saying is that you don't own the road, and just like if that were a right of way, it doesn't grant ownership. That's a distinction, and so under that distinction, you're not a landowning abutter. And I understand that the dock permit was issued some time ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and there's probably been other docks on there. I know at least one that we had removed not far from you a few years ago under the same premise that they put a dock on the end of a right of way, and it didn't belong there. So that's what we have for rules. So we're kind of that's where we are, and we can only make a decision based on that fact that you're not the landowning abutter. So and that that's what the commission would have to vote on in this particular case.
And Mr. Chair, once again, definitely, appreciate this public hearing and what I'm saying, and I'm sure this is what Mr. Krikorian mentioned earlier. There was a valid reason, I believe, that this commission granted the permit 20 years ago and renewed it every year thereafter, right? So obviously somebody did look at the paperwork, did look at the fact that the residents of this street do have rights to the frontage of the lakeshore, the frontage of that private way. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't know to what extent those rights can be stretched. But I believe if you have rights of use, then that use should include a dock that's permanently affixed to the shoreline.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman,
Well, yes.
just to clarify, I spoke to the Registrar of Deeds, Katie Toomey, about the private way. And it's, as mentioned at the last meeting, the residents have their rights to the middle of the street based upon their property lines, not other people's property lines.
Right, and that the most right of ways, because what you're speaking about, Mr. Spalio, is basically the same kind of easement or rights that you would be granted with a right of way that was on your deed. And from what I understand from both you and Mr. Krikorian, that you don't have anything written on your deed that mentions this. My understanding from council is that it's kind of assumed that you are that you don't own the private road, but that it's there for your use. You can use it. So you do, and I'm not sure that this is the case, but if it were the case of like a right of way, you would have in most right of ways that I've seen on Lake Quinsigamond, in fact, all of the right of ways I've seen written within the Registry of Deeds, basically state that you have they call it a repass right of way, which means you can go down to the water. You can bring a boat down there. You can carry a boat down there. You can put the boat in the water. You can launch off of it, and you can stand in the water. You can maybe even swim and all that stuff. But there's nothing in there that says you can put a dock in. And in our case, it violates the Quinsigamond rules, because the Quinsigamond rules are clear that on the dock application that you have to be a landowning abutter. So my sense of what happened in the past wasn't so much that they saw something in there that didn't bother them and they thought it was okay. I think that they didn't notice that they didn't drill down to find out if you were a landowning abutter or not. And I'm just doing that from the historical precedent that was set in other sites as well. where we've seen the same problem. And, you know, that's on both you who applied for this, and again, I'm not saying you did this maliciously or with intent to you know, to pull the wool over the commission's eyes. I believe you didn't understand what exactly your rights are on the road at the time, based on what the neighbors say. And there's a lot of legacy stuff that happens on the lake. That, you know, you go back and you talk to the old neighbors. I do it in my neighborhood, you know, and you know, they say, oh yeah, we used to just walk over each other's lawns, and you know, we always had a right to do whatever we wanted to do, and you know, times change and all that. But the reality of it is, you know, that's not necessarily accurate, and you know, as it turns out, this comes before us, and we have to make a determination. Then we have to kind of use the rules that we have. And if this were the other way around, where we were trying to make a determination on something that and we didn't follow the rules and it caused you harm, you know, I think you would be, you know, unhappy about that. So, you know, we don't, you know, we have rules in place for a reason, you know, but until that particular part of the dock application changes, you know, that's basically what we have staring at us, is that, you know, are you the landowning abutter of record? And, you know, is the dock on that part of the land, you know, on land that you own?
Peter, could I make a comment?
Sure, of course.
I agree with everything you said concerning landowning abutter. I just want to mention something with regards to slide number 3 on statutory private ways that was brought up. The act clearly says, as the interested party showed, that people who live on the private way have a right to use the way. But they also demonstrated the public likewise has an easement of passage over statutory private ways. So if we were somehow to ignore the rule of being an abutter on the lake and try to lean towards saying, because you lived on the private way, you somehow had a right to put a dock in there, we would be creating new laws saying that anybody from the public could then use that dock, because the public has statutory passage over the private ways, the same as the people who live on it. So we would clearly be getting ourselves in trouble, because we'd be creating new law, which we cannot do. We don't have the right to do it.
Okay, I guess you know, it certainly could be interpreted like that.
Mr. Nelson, with all due respect, I do believe that the statute states that the public has an easement, whereas the beneficiaries for whom the private way was laid out have every right of use. So I think, you know, I think those folks, you know, obviously who paid for this private way, right, way in the 30s, I believe, when this was, you know, done, they paid, you know, for the layout, for the land acquisition. I mean, I believe, you know, that the town owns, the city of Worcester owns the land, but we haven't drilled deep down to see who the real ownership belongs to. Right?
You just proved. Oh, excuse me. Are you finished?
Yep.
You just proved my point. It would require lawyers to decide the semantic definition of the words right to use compared to easement of passage. That would be creating new law where lawyers would have to define the difference between those two terms. And that's something we cannot do. We're not lawyers.
Right. An easement of passage basically means that, you know, it's kind of the same as a right of way. You have the right to use the road to go down and back. So like if you were, you know, I came over to visit Mr. Spyu, I could drive down the road without permission from Mr. Krikorian to go by his house to do it. So that's what that's pointing to. What distinction or what difference between the right to use the way and Mr. Spyu, it doesn't say every right to use the way, it just says right to use the way. is is beyond me, and I agree with Mr. Nelson. It's probably something for an attorney. But in our case, the line that says it is not owned by those individuals is the sticking point here. Is that regardless of all your rights to pass and repass on that way, there is no ownership on it, which is what's out of compliance with the dock. That's the problem.
We truly don't know that, Mr. Chair. So, you don't know statute, what? We don't know who owns it. We don't know who owns the private way.
Well, regardless who does own it, well, unless it's you or Mr. Krikorian or the residents on the street in collective, we couldn't find any record at the Registry of Deeds attached to your properties that suggested that ownership was yours. There's all Ms. Labaziere, you may be able to elaborate on this, but was there any indication that the land under the road was the city's?
No, basically, when I checked with the Registrar of Deeds, the only two properties on Suntog that have access to the lake are 4 and 5.
That's
okay, but there's nothing about ownership of the road from the city.
That's land owning abutters.
Yeah, no, that's actually incorrect.
Ahead,
if I may correct the record here, there are 3 homes. Number 4, number 5, and number 5A, who have
Correct.
deeded water rights.
Correct.
Deeded water rights?
Yeah, deeded water rights.
So they have a right of way.
That's what the Registry of Deeds says.
Okay.
Correct.
So, all right, but number what was it? Number 7 and number 4 have land abutting the lake.
Right.
Their landowning abutters abutting the lake.
4.
I'm not sure where 5A comes in on this. If they have a right of way, that's fine. But the right of way still doesn't give them the distinction of being a landowning abutter and having a right to put a dock in. In other words, you can't put a dock in the end of a right of way. In fact, most right of ways have a stipulation that you're not supposed to make any improvements on them. But 5A is on that within those lot lines.
Right.
Is that the property that's just is 5A just north?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 5A is the one next to 5.
Okay. So
And
those two properties look like they,
they,
as you can see, their land abuts the lake.
Yep.
So that's a clear, distinction that they have land. They have rights to the lake. Because their land abuts it. They're fine. They're within compliance of the Lake Commission rules for installing a dock. Anything else on there, unless there's some kind of ownership that no one's seeing here, is not on there. I mean, I feel terrible about this. Not something that we're excited to do or happy to do, and I wish there were a way around it without as Mr. Nelson indicated, that would cause problems all over the lake if we did it. To me, and I'm one vote, but to me, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the, it's written right in the evidence you showed us that you guys don't have ownership of it.
Mr. Chair, this is Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Sergeant Gone with the police.
Hey, Sergeant.
These people have had a permit approved for 25 years, and there's never been an issue, and now it's an issue. That's our standpoint right now.
I'm sorry?
These people have used the dock for 25 years and have been permitted for 25 years, and all of a sudden now it's an issue.
Well, all of a sudden, it came to our attention that they weren't landowning abutters, and it's become an issue because the two people that are landing on abutters on there are concerned with it. So, so yeah, it is an issue.
Can I, Mr. Collins, can I respectfully ask, like, what is their concerns with it?
The concern on number 4, for example, is that the boat dock itself is not in front of the abutter's land. However, Mike Piker has joined me here. So, however, the boat that's tied to the dock is in front of the landowner's land, the abutter's land. So that's one thing. But I don't know what else to say besides we have a rule. We did not realize when this plate was issued, and I don't believe that the proponent realized when the plate was issued, that they did not have ownership of the road. But when that comes to our attention, that they don't have ownership, then, you know, you have to make a change. If this were another type of statute, if this were another type of permit, a driver's license where, you know, someone had to be of a certain age, they had to be, you know, 16 and a half to get the driver's license, and you find out that they're not. Do you let them keep the driver's license, or do you revoke it? You know, if someone lied on an application or didn't, or misled the commission, or did it by mistake on a gun permit, if they failed to tell you that they were convicted of a felony 20 years ago, and they've had their permit for 15 years now.
Yeah, so that's I take a little bit of offense to that, because I did it properly. I went through the proper channel.
I understand that. I'm not saying you did this, and I said this right from the top, Mr. Krikorian. I did not say you did this with the intent to defraud anybody. I believe that you didn't know either. So I understand that. But
excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think the owners of number 4 are on the call as well.
Okay. So
hi, this is Elizabeth.
So anyway, that's kind of where I think we stand. Is it, it is what it is. I'm sorry. So does anyone else have something to add? The volume is on.
Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, no. Sorry. You know what? I have it in my ear.
Can she state her last name so we have it for the minutes?
Sure. Elizabeth Groberio, Groberio.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't hear a complaint from number 4.
I didn't know that I was supposed to state my complaint now, but I will. My complaint is, regardless of your dock, it is illegal. Your boat is in front of my property, and that's why it's a problem. It was never a problem before because no one was living at the house. Now it's a problem because your boat is clearly in front of my property. And as you said, and you explained so eloquently, it's a private way. So based on being a private way, that means up until half that street from my property line is mine. So it is a problem. It is a problem because not only is the boat from house number 3 in front of my property. Last year, house number 1 decided to plop a boat in front of my house as well. So that's why now it's an issue. And have we tried to talk about it? Of course we tried to talk about it. We tried to be good neighbors and talk and be nice, because I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be mean. I don't want anyone to think that I'm being vicious or anything. We tried to talk about it, but did anything happen? No, nothing happened about it. So that's why there's an issue.
So if just for everyone's understanding, The house at number 1, at your request, removed the dock, which was on your
No, it
property.
wasn't at my request. It was at the request of house number 2, because he quote unquote owns the dock. He made that request.
Okay,
Because again, she put her boat on his dock without even asking his permission.
Elizabeth, this is, this is on the record. So at your request, being good neighbors, the resident at house number 1 removed the dock and their boat. At the request of your husband, we pointed the dock in the direction you wanted.
No, you did not. You moved that dock without even asking me. And let that be on the record. You moved that dock without even discussing it with me. You moved it, and then you told my husband. You never came and asked my husband before. You did it, and then you said it. Let that be on the record. You did not do nothing. You never asked, and you never did anything that my husband had said. So don't try that.
Okay, Elizabeth, and Mr. Spayu and everyone in the hearing, that all comments, we don't want to get a back and forth going here, so all comments need to go through the chair. So just so we can kind of keep a handle on things. I think that we.
Mr. Chair. Yes. Sergeant Gorman again with the police.
Yep.
Has anyone checked the GIS system to see who actually owns where that dock is?
We're looking at it right now.
I just looked at the GIS and.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at an image, a land image without the dock on.
Yep. I clicked on the GIS and it clearly states where that dock is. The property line is owned by the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. If I clicked on it correctly, at the bottom of that road, the piece of that land where that dock is actually owned by the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. If you go with the GIS and you click on it, it tells you who the ownership is at the bottom of Suntag Road.
Okay, Sergeant, if you went around the lake, I got tripped up by this as well, because I was looking at some other properties down the lake. I think what happens is because the GIS isn't exactly, the lines aren't exactly accurate. I'm not sure if it's a technology or it may be a limitation because the government, it kind of has a little bit of a control on the GIS and GPS system, satellite system. So so it's not too accurate. But what happens is you click there and it basically, if you click anywhere on the lake or especially on the blue, it'll come up and say it's the property of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. Okay. So that's what happens there, and that's why that's showing like that. If that were normal, if that were a city street, that'd be city property at the end of it. And but I don't, there's no record that from what we've seen, there's no record that the city owns the street either. The private street thing.
Well, technically, we don't know who owns that property.
No, well, yes, we do. We know that it's not in the deed of the proponents. So we know who doesn't own it because as they showed on the statute that being on the private street and having responsibility for it and all the stuff that they've done does not give them ownership of it. So, and you can go back to that slide if you want, but that's what that says. That's the sticking point right now, Sergeant, is that it says they don't own it. The evidence he brought in to show the statute of a private street states that the people that are on the street don't own the street.
Okay, so just to be clear, if I wanted to drop my boat next summer at the end of Suntag Road, I could do it because there's a ramp there.
That's a question, I guess. I don't know. It says you have an easement to go down
right.
there.
I'm reading the statute. Technically, if I want to drop my boat, or if 20,000 other people want to drop their boat at the end of Suntag Road, we actually could.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're going to probably call you guys up and say, hey, can you put some no parking signs down here? That's an issue for another time. It doesn't, that may be so, it may not be so. I don't know, but it's in this particular case, it's not in the purview of the hearing to talk, to deal with that part of it. We're just here to determine if the dock is in compliance. It's a simple thing. Is the dock in compliance or is it not? So that's where we're sitting.
Mr. Chair, I don't think, we truly have found out who the ownership of the road belongs to. I think for this commission to take a vote on, inaccurate facts, would truly, make no sense.
Mr. Spayou, I agree with the first part of it, but two things are true here. That we don't know who the ownership of the road is, and we do know who the ownership of the road isn't. And the ownership of the road is not, any of the houses on the road. That's based on what you showed us. If you want to go back there, you can see it, but that's what it says. It says that you don't have ownership of the road. So we know who doesn't own it.
Well, the act, and again, there's 4 chapters that discuss statutory private ways. Okay, so obviously, like I stated, I'm not an attorney, and I just picked a few items which I thought would be of relevance, right? But it does also state here, right, section 24, that the costs of the layout, necessary land acquisition, construction, maintenance, and repairs are chargeable to the persons upon whose application such way is laid out, relocated, altered, or discontinued. So technically, we don't know.
Well, all that says is that you're responsible to pay for it. To be frank, I think private roads are a bum deal. But, based on this, is you got to pay for it. You don't have any ownership of it, which is, it doesn't seem right to me, but that's the way it is. And that's based on what you're telling us. Nothing you've said is contradictory to the other statement that says that you don't own it. So that's what I'm seeing. Is there anyone else that has a comment or question? Okay. I guess if that's the case, then we can vote to close the hearing.
Chairman, if I could add some final details to this conversation.
Sure.
I too.
I can't see who's speaking.
This is Donna Krikorian. I'm the resident.
Oh, okay, Donna. Okay, thank you.
I would like to say thank you to some of the panel members who have been listening and able to filter. You, sir, sound quite persuasive as if a vote has already been taken, but I would ask the panel to consider the people caught in the middle, which is the residents of 2 Suntag Road. We have lived here peacefully for 25 years. We consulted with the people that lived here. We honored the proper channels of securing and paying the city of Shrewsbury year after year after year, and maintaining the space. We have lived peacefully until folks moved on the street and became territorial. The people caught in the middle are the ones who have done it right all these years. You are missing critical information to what has led up to this hearing. And we have done everything correct all these years without any incident, without any police involvement. We have been law-abiding and paying the city of Shrewsbury. If for nothing else, Shrewsbury and the Lake Commission owe us keeping this dock. That was your error for not doing due diligence for whatever the law stated 25 years ago, and yet you continued to charge us for such all these years without any incident until people who don't even reside on the street at all stomped their feet. They do not own a home on the street. The boat they put in the water is not even registered to them. They did it without asking anyone and dropped it there. And that, sir, caused a significant rift in the dynamics and the relationships on the street. We have been law-abiding all these years, number 2 Sundog, for years and years, and any neighbors can attest prior to the last 2 that this was a peaceful, welcoming, compromising lakeside community. And the only ones that are getting screwed out of a dock right now are the people that live at 2 Sundog Road.
Okay, thank you.
We have tried our best to be neighborly, and we have been steamrolled nonstop right down to being able to walk down those 3 steps and take foot and our boat, which we have owned all these years legally and tagged to that dock. So if you can't see the sensibility in taking care of the people that have taken care of Worcester all these years because someone else stomped their feet is unethical. Forget about less than law abiding and any moral compass whatsoever. The Krikorians at 2 Sundog Road did right. We applied properly. We got approved properly. We paid properly year after year after year. And there needs to be some consideration for that. And the presentation tonight has been slanted and persuasive against the people who did right all these years, as if a vote has already been taken. And I take offense to that because ethically and morally, Lake Commission should do right by us as well as the city of Worcester standing behind us. We have done it right all these years. And once again, bureaucracy will punish the people who live peacefully and get steamrolled by someone else that complains.
Okay, and thank you. You know, I don't want to get into a back and forth with you. I'm not here to. This is not easy for me. I don't like doing this. You know, so I think you have the wrong impression of my intentions here. But I'm just to remind people of what we have to focus on here. So, you know,
focus on the citizens of Worcester that have done right and serve your community.
When you applied for your dock, did you tell them that
Yes.
Did you indicate you were landowning a butter?
We provided a diagram, measurements, they came down, they checked.
Didn't answer the question.
The question, when it was asked, I said it's a private street that goes into the lake. And
So was that did you imply that it was that you were you know, I guess that you know, I'm not saying that you know, the Lake Commissions, it has nothing to do with the town of Shrewsbury, by the way. The Lake Commission's a commission made up of the city of Worcester, the town of Shrewsbury, and the town of Grafton. So you can blame the Lake Commission all you want, but you can't really blame the town of Shrewsbury.
Commission took the money then. These years.
But you know, as far as the money goes, you know, you enjoyed the lake and the dock for all those years. So you know, you that you paid for and you got. But you know, and I again, this isn't a pleasant thing to be talking about, but from our perspective, Mrs. Krikorian, you know, if this goes on and everybody on this lake decides they're going to put something somewhere, or we find out that you know that they didn't do the process right and it wasn't done properly, you know, and people have rights beside you too. So you know, because they bought land on the lake and they have the right to enjoy it. So you know, I don't know what else to say. You know, we have to go by the rules we have. So you're asking us as a commission to basically not just ignore our own rules. So how do we enforce any rule if we do that? That's what I don't understand. If we do this, how do we enforce any of the rules that we have? Because that'll get thrown back at us too and say, well, you know, you let these guys go, or you did this, or you did that. So that's kind of where, I think this thing is a slippery slope on our part, but again, I'm one vote. So,
There's a property that's across the lake from us, over to the left a little bit, that has about, I'm going to say 10 docks lined up that all of the people around there use. I'm not sure the name of the street, but it's a little cove. It's across from the, I believe it's the Rob Roy house. So I'm not sure how they were able to petition. If whatever they've been able to do, I don't know if we can copy that.
I don't know specifically of the place you're talking about. If it's brought to our attention and we find out that it's not in compliance, they're going to have a similar discussion.
Well, I'm not talking about getting them in trouble. I'm just saying they've used it. They've and it seems like it's cohesive with them. So
understood, but that's not the situation at the end of Suntalk. So we clearly have someone that there's a landowning abutter that it has raised a complaint.
Mr. Chair, I don't understand on what grounds are they complaining on a dock that's not on their property. Okay, when we know that
they're complaining because the dock is not in compliance.
But
you're not the landowning abutter. It circles back to that. I don't know what else, how otherwise more clear I can be that's what it is. So this is turning into a circular thing, and it's just going around and around and around to the same conclusion. So, I'm gonna,
Because it's repetitive.
it's we're getting to it's getting kind of rehash here. So does anyone else have any new information or something they want to share before we close out?
Okay, May speaking now. This is my name is Anacleto. I own number 4 Sontag Road.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk about this dock. Okay. That been going on since last year. Like it's gonna be like a year now. When the lady, she put a new dock in there. She never asked nobody. That's when everything started. Okay. So I bought the property. I try to do my best, and I just want to explain. I'm paying about $10,000 more to be in the lake every year in tax. Somebody else who's not at the lake don't pay the same tax I pay. Number 2 and number 3, they pay $5,000 something. But I'm paying $10,000 to have a boat in the front of my house. So what happens is, in the beginning, when everything started, I said, listen, just to move your dock a little bit to the side, because I don't want to see you guys in my way all the time. Nothing happened. They never did it. And what happened, they add one more dock in there. So, and like you guys say, I own half of the street. And something happened, somebody fell in there or something happened, they's going to be sue me and I'll be in a big trouble. So that dock is not supposed to be there. That's a drain from the city of Worcester and the dock is over there. But nobody have the rights to be in that land over there. So I just want to talk about this. I don't want to cause a problems because I'm the new neighbor. But I just don't want to see a boat not belong to me pretty much in front of my house. And I'm going to pay about $10,000 more in tax because I'm at the lake and somebody else will pay only $5,000, but he's over there next to me. So I just want to make you guys, listen this a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt nobody. So go ahead.
Okay. So is there? Thank you. Is there any more? Anybody else that has not spoken that wants to speak on this matter? Anyone from the commission can pipe in anytime, even if you spoke before. So, Sergeant Garman, if you want to talk, of course. Okay. don't see anybody's, anyone's hand up, so we'll move on. I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on this issue, Mr. Chair. This is Michael Pica. Just as a point of fact, Google all of a sudden shut me off. So I came to Mr. Collins's house to be a part of the meeting because I tried multiple times to get back in on Google and I could not. The last thing I heard was that somebody had gone to the town of Shrewsbury and found out that the meeting wasn't being held there. Then the phone went dead and I wasn't able to re-enter after multiple attempts. But again, I make a motion that we close this part of the public hearing on this matter.
Seconded.
All right, I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Pica?
And what's the roll call on, Mr. Chair?
To close the hearing.
Okay, aye.
Sergeant Vitos?
Aye.
Sergeant Galliman?
Aye.
Ms. Amory?
Aye.
Ms. Labaziere?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So next we have to make a decision to vote on the removal. So is there any discussion or comment on that, on the vote?
Mr. Chair, if I could, if the boat is in front of somebody else's property, it's just clear to me, it should be removed. And then the issue of the dock itself, I don't know if it's a separate issue or the same issue, but if at this time, the understanding is the people on that road do not own the road, the dock may have to be removed as well. But right now, if it's just a matter of the boat being removed, I'd say the boat should be removed. It should not be in front of somebody else's property who does not own that boat, period. So let it be said.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes. I'm going to state that it's been approved for 25 years. I don't think these people should be punished for 25 years of doing things right. So that's my statement.
Okay, so do you have a suggestion on what we should do?
For 25 years, they've been able to use their dock freely without issues and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden it's an issue. That goes back on the Lake Commission. I think for 25 years, them doing stuff properly, I think it falls back on the Lake Commission for not doing due diligence.
Okay. Is there any other comments, questions from the commission?
I do have one question, Mr. Chair. On the renewal application for docks, is there a spot that states that you're a land abutter of the lake?
I don't believe so.
Is that something that can be added?
It can be added.
It's Shrewsbury Police. Correct me if I'm wrong. Shrewsbury Police issues the dock permits?
It's kind of morphed over the years. You have to remember that the Lake Commission's made up of mostly volunteers. Obviously, Shrewsbury Police get paid to do police work.
Yeah, it implies the property owner here.
Does it say that?
This diagram should be drawn by the property owner.
Well, that's the new dock app. So what usually, I've had it, in fact, when we put a dock in at a property that we had on the end of Edgemere, and Mr. Pica came down to inspect the dock. So it's, so you could do it, Lisa, you could go down, you can inspect the dock. Anyone in the commission could do it. I think that what the police have not done is drill down and go and check the records. And, I think that something's kind of beyond their will and capacity to pull off. So it's certainly something moving forward we have to deal with.
Right.
Again, my concern is to set a precedent that we're going to, grandfather, because that's basically what Sergeant Garniman is asking us, is the grandfathered his dock in there? And my concern with that is that if we do that here, it's going to happen all over. And, you know, where there was no issue for the last 25 years or so, there seems to be an issue now with a rightful landowning abutter, you know, that also abuts the street. So, you know, I guess my question is, you know, from my perspective, how do we reconcile those two things? How do we say, okay, you know, we have a dock that's not in compliance, but, you know, it's been there for 25 years. And I think it's unfair just to blame the Lake Commission, because obviously the property owner did not drill down to find out if they did in fact own the property. So some of the onus is on the property owner to come up with the right information. And again, I'm not saying that was done maliciously or with intent to defraud the commission in any way. I'm just saying that it wasn't done. So, you know, so on both of our sides, yes. You know, we probably should have paid attention and known better. But that said, you know, what do we do about the other side of it? What do we do about the other docks that may come up? And I believe there are a few out there that may be in the same situation. So, you know, we can have if we do what you want to do, or what's been suggested, we'd have to change the rules to do it. You know, and the commission just can't make up. They can't make up a law, or we just can't make. Okay, we're going to change the rule arbitrarily. Like it literally has to get approved by the legislature. Believe me, I've done it. So you know, it has to go and get things changed. So if we want to change the wording, and someone wants to talk about that at a future date, that's, you know, we can. I'll entertain that. I don't necessarily disagree, but if we're going by what we have in front of us right now and what we have to work with, you know, it's pretty clear. The evidence that the proponents themselves showed us said that they didn't own the property. So had they researched that 20 years ago and brought it up, the dock wouldn't be there now. And had we researched it, it wouldn't be there. So I can commit now that we are going to research every single property we bring up that comes before us with a new dock application. But you know, and we'll probably deal with issues similar to this on right-of-ways and whatnot from time to time moving forward as well. So we'll have to set a policy to do, you know, and we have in the past. And again, we had someone remove a dock, you know, in that cove, in that same South Bay, probably 5 years ago, for the same reasons. It didn't conform. So, you know, it's not fair to those guys either.
Right.
But that wasn't there for 20 years, but, you know, still.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is number 4 Sontag Road.
Yeah,
the last meeting
we closed the hearing, so the public part of it's behind.
Okay, but they don't have 25 years there. They live there for 15 years. The last meeting they told you guys that.
You. Please. Okay. So that's my comment on that. All right. And does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else in the commission have a comment or question?
I guess that I could make a couple of comments.
Sure.
3 of them. It's fairly clear that everybody in the past has been a little at fault, from the commission to landowners to previous volunteers, in that they might have missed various intricacies, but that's in the past. The second point I want to make, whether it's 15 years or 20 years that some of these landowners have said that they have paid for use of the dock and the lake, well, they got that 15 to 20 years use of enjoyment out of it. And third, unfortunately as it is, this issue was brought up to the Lake Commission, and we have to follow the rules in making our final decision. Unfortunately, if some of us don't really like the outcome, just like some of the residents don't like the outcome.
You can count me in on those people that don't like the outcome. So thank you, Mr. Nelson. Any other comments from the commission? Okay. So we can either vote on this, and accept the motion to do that, or you can vote. I guess we're at the point where we need to vote, unless there's any more questions.
Mr. Chair, could it be stated specifically what the motion is that would be voting on? Michael Piker.
The motion would be to call for the removal of the dock and boats attached to the dock from 2 Sontag, owned by the persons at 2 Sontag Road, at the end of Sontag Road, because the docks do not comply with the rule of being a landowning abutter.
I'll make a motion then that we vote on that, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Piker?
I vote that.
Hold up. Can we back up just 1 second? Is that possible? I would like to, normally it's a 30-day window. That's close to that right now, but for this purpose, I'd like to extend that out to the end of the season. So October 31st, that the dock comes out to just finish off the season, because they clearly paid for that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So a yay vote would be to remove and a nay vote would be
That's
to
correct.
keep it?
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant. That's correct. Yeah. A yay vote would be to remove the dock, and nay vote would be to not remove it. So with that addition to the motion, is there a second?
I second that addition to the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask for clarification. If a nay vote means we don't remove it, are we saying we're going to take it up in October, or do we need a separate motion?
I'm sorry, Ms. Emery, can you repeat that, please?
If we vote nay,
Yes.
and that says that we're not removing it, then we need to make a second motion that says we're going to take the issue up at the end of October when we have greater clarity, if in fact we have greater clarity at that point.
If the vote is to not remove the dock, I don't really see why we would want to come back on that, especially this year, and keep talking about it. If you, I know there's a motion, the second on the table right now, but we can pull that back, I guess, and if we could also continue this hearing, and and come up with a policy over the winter to deal with these situations, I guess. We could pull that off too. I mean, effectively the season's over October 31st, which is a little, it's 6 weeks. So they'd be almost within their zone of taking it out anyways.
So my inclination would be to continue the hearing and get some greater clarity on the legality of the road from the lawyers, and then make a decision or come up with a plan that will accommodate everyone's need, as opposed to just remove the dock.
So you want to continue this?
Has this been seconded?
That would be my preference, would be to continue the hearing, hear from the lawyers about the legalities of the road, and then come up with a plan that will accommodate the needs of everyone on Sontag Road.
Yeah, for me, I don't think the legality of the ownership of the road's in question. It's written in the statute, which the proponent just showed us that they don't.
So I mean, there might be another solution where the landowning abutters and the other abutters to the road could come up with a homeowners association where they would all own the end of the road in common, and then
Well,
everyone.
how would they pull that off? Because they don't own it now. So how are they going to obtain ownership? That's a big question. Here's the only thing we can really do if we continue this, is that we can continue it and work over the winter to either change our rule or somehow come up with a thing to grandfather in, which I don't even know if that's legal for us to do that. So I think we're going down a slippery slope, Ms. Amory, that if we mess around, it's going to look like we
Let them go and try to
Yeah.
get ownership of the end of the road, the abutters.
If they obtain ownership to the end of the road after this thing, they can reapply.
Well, that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, if they have ownership of it and they can prove ownership of it, they can come back and put it in. But the only thing they proved tonight is that they don't have ownership of it. So.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So I'm sorry. Sergeant?
But nobody has ownership of it.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't change our rule that you have to have ownership. That's a sticking point here. I mean, in our rule, on the doc, on the new doc application, it basically says you have to be the landowning abutter. And that's kind of where we're at with it. So, this document's available on the website. So we have a motion and an amended motion, and then we have a second on the amended motion, and I guess I'm going to call for the vote. So we're voting on to remove the dock, which is a yay vote, and to not remove the dock, which is a nay. Okay, so yes to remove it, no to not remove it. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Pica.
Yay.
Sergeant Vitos.
Yay.
Sergeant Guyman.
Nay.
Miss Amory.
Aye.
Miss Labossiere.
Yay.
You said yay?
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. My vote is yes. The ayes have it. I guess when you take it out for the season, they're going to ask you not to put it back in. So I'm sorry that it turned out this way.
The boat and the dock.
And the boat and the dock. So, thank you. Okay, move on to the public participation part. I think we have two residents or two interested parties to come on to public participation. Public participation, if you remember, we voted on, I believe it was July, right? And basically it says, we're gonna put a 15-minute block out, and people can have three minutes a piece to talk anything they want about the lake. So is there anyone in attendance now that's ready to do that?
Hi, Peter. It's Stephen Power.
Hey, Stephen. All right, you're first up.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Stephen Power. I'm at 107 Lake Ave on the Worcester side. I'm with Marguerite Cormier, who's 139. We called in together here to do it together.
Okay.
And she's 132 in Shrewsbury as well.
Okay.
I saw on the agenda that there was the first one is discuss the temporary jet ski ban.
Yes.
So we just wanted to chime in on that and just give a brief, opinion that I know this is probably I'm not sure of the context. I know you mentioned it, possibly due to the Indian Lake situation with the city. But we just thought we'd just put our voices out, and a lot of our friends as well have, already expressed that we're not in favor of that. We don't think just because there's some operators that aren't aware of the rules or don't follow the rules, that the rest of the responsible operators should pay that price. This is technically the Worcester can't do what they did to this lake because it's, not owned by the city of Worcester. To me, it would be something similar as like saying no longer can there be motorcycles on the streets of Worcester because there are those reckless kids ripping around in motorcycles. You don't solve the problem by banning all motorcycles. You deal with the offenders. So basically that was the point we wanted to make on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Marguerite, do you want to add anything to that, or?
I just would like to say, in my opinion, it's not even to be in a discussion. Just because, as Stephen said, there's some operators that are not aware of the rules or just don't want to follow one, does not mean the rest of the responsible operators should pay the price. We're all pro about, policing and education. Maybe, attach some ambassadors of the Lake Commission that could possibly, as we're out there and we see offenders, we could say, hey, guess what? You really, when you see a bottleneck, you can't, in the lake, like say at the Narrows, you can't drive 100 miles an hour. You got to slow down like you do on a road, let people ebb and flow.
Yeah, she's wondering if there's a way that could, that if there was some policy that the Lake Commission could enact that people could, it's hard to just go up to people. We do go up to people on our jet skis and boats and nicely try to talk to them when we see something happening that, they shouldn't be doing or they don't know they're doing that's wrong. But often they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to listen to you because you're just some, random person, and they often just ignore you and take off. So I don't know. And then the police are very busy, and they can't be everywhere all the time. So it would be nice if we could come up with some way to help educate people as residents. So that could be something maybe to be discussed in the future.
Okay.
Kind of like a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking that we, and I don't want to get in a back and forth here because we're going to discuss this down the road, and that may be something we can do offline.
Okay.
I'm just going to make a quick comment to say that, trust me, I have gone up and made comments to people who I've seen doing things that were unsafe or unlawful or, any of that stuff numerous times. With some effect and sometimes with no effect. But it's not that none of us do it. We do. The people who live, the commissioners that live on the lake. We can talk about that. I'm not opposed to the idea. Again, banning jet skis is not something that, and you and I have had discussion that I'm really excited about. But we're going to discuss that down the road, Stephen. So I don't want to bring it up here.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right. And then I just had, since we had a few minutes, I just had a couple other points I just wanted to just mention to you that maybe you could take notes, and we can also discuss a few other things in the future, or just to get our opinions out there on things like such as the no wake orders, and what you and I have talked about. And I know, and I saw on the list, on the agenda that's coming up about having, I think you be able to make that decision when needed, which I'm fine with that. But I have expressed to you my opinion on the orders in general. And, I know there are people, not from what I've heard and what we've seen, we've assessed the lake too. We've gone around when the water was high slowly and investigated. And we do know there are a number of docks that are low, that are barely above the water on regular lake levels, average lake levels. So yes, when the water goes up, a lot of them get swamped. And I feel for them. But I'm just wondering if, with the way the global climate's changing, and who knows what's going to happen in the future with these water levels. Maybe this year was a freak, and maybe it'll go back to normal in the future. But if it didn't, it would be nice if maybe the commission could get together and say, put out a notice to everyone on the lake and say, times of, things may be changing and the owners should possibly adapt their docks, like we talked about, to maybe raise them or make them so they can deal with a little bit extra height, so that we don't have to constantly have a no wake zone and, not be able to use the lake on, the few holidays. And, we have a short season, and it really is terrible when it's closed down. So, I mean, I'm not against no wake orders, but only when the extreme, maybe, extreme. And regularly, though, I would hope people could adjust for them, for that to happen. I know everyone can say, oh, they don't have the funds and this and that, but, if you're on the lake and you're going to have a dock, it's not, it's not cheap. It's not easy. It's a tough thing.
Right. Just to make a quick clarification, and your time is up. I gave you the 6 minutes because of the two of you were at the same time. So thank you very much. Just to make a quick clarification on that, my main concern, or our main concern, with the no wake zone is not docks. People should build and design docks that kind of match the site that they're in. I mean, there are some extraordinary circumstances, and I would ask that neighbors be courteous to other neighbors. Wakeboard boats are a whole different set of things, because on a normal day their wakes can come up over a dock that's set right. So that's that. But I'm not worried about that so much. Just so you guys understand, my main concern are things like the banking at Lake Park.
Yep.
That when the water gets up and boats go by it with a big wake, it's going to start washing out the banking. And we had a meeting over there, I think 2 weeks ago, because we have trees falling into the lake. We have the bank being eroded. So those are the types of concerns really that I'm focused on. It's more the natural shoreline that's getting damaged that I'm trying to protect. So I hope that
I got you. And I know the time is up, so I'll bring up the next topic next month, in the next in public part.
You bet.
All right.
Thank you.
That would
Thank you very much. Thanks, Gregory.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
So
all right.
that's we don't have anyone else on that, do we, Angela?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving on. Number 7 is the commissioner's report. I'm going to save all my stuff for later on. Mr. Piker.
Just some observations, Mr. Chair. I see the eagles are still flying about. In terms of the treatment of Half Moon Cove, again, from just my visual observation, it appears that the treatment of the Half Moon Cove with the herbicide is probably had, and again, this is an informal guesstimation, about a 40 to 50% positive impact in terms of knocking down the observable weeds that have grown to the surface. Other than that, as previously has been said tonight, there's been a lot of reduced activity on the lake. It's just there's not as many boats. The weather has continued to be pretty good. And there is a lot of other nuisance weeds like grasses that are washing about people's shores, and this is an annual event that occurs. And again, these are the challenges when you live on a lake that's got a lot of nutrient and it's good for growing things. Unfortunately, it does impact people in terms of motors and impellers in their motors, but hopefully we can work together to deal with this in the future. Thank you then, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Piker. Sergeant Vitos.
How you doing, Mr. Chair? I just had a few things to add. It is the end of the season for us. So I just want to let everyone know that our regular patrols ended on September 12th, but the boat will stay in the water for a few more weeks for emergency deployment, obviously depending on weather conditions. Additionally, we were very generously donated a new bumper system for our police boathouse. The old one was very tired and it was in much need of replacement. That was donated by John Meter from Grady's Home and Shore. These bumpers will greatly preserve the integrity of the boathouse and the boat for years to come. So we thank him for that. I would also just like to thank all our officers who patrolled the lake this year. We started a mission to proactively enforce violations of vessels before they were deployed on the lake. And as I said in the last meeting, we had a very successful year. with our patrols on both the lake and the ramp, which cut down substantially on the number of complaints by users and residents. Additionally, with these patrols, there were 89 documented incidents where boaters were denied from entering the lake and or removed from the lake. These denied entries were, again, proactive enforcement of boating regulations as well as motor vehicle law violations, such things as unregistered vessels and attaching plates to trailers. Just throwing it out there, we have been brainstorming for next year. We'd really like to entertain purchasing at least 1 or 2 police jet skis, and believe they would be an instrumental part in the compliance enforcement of all the lake violations, allowing us to venture out to places where our boat currently cannot go. But obviously, we're going to have to look at the numbers and see if that's even feasible or attainable. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Sergeant Vitos, and I'm going to do this preemptively to for Sergeant Diamond, who too is from on behalf of the rest of the Lake Commission. We really appreciate the effort and the results and success you all have had out there. And especially I want to thank you also for the adaptive ski day, which we couldn't have done without you and the crew. So it's been a really a much better year, I think, for law enforcement. I'm not going to say it's been a better year for behavior. The behavior has been pretty bad, but at least we had something to deal with it out there on a regular basis. So we really appreciate it. Appreciate all the time and effort you guys put in. I know it hasn't been a good year for mechanics and all other kinds of stuff that happened because it's a boat. So that's good. I also I'll reach out to John myself, but I want to publicly thank John Meter for putting those bumpers in there. That was awesome. Thanks, Sergeant Guyman.
We removed 50 boats from the water, 50 boats and jet skis. We advised that, well, we either ticketed them, or advised them, or sent them off the water. We tried to do as much as we could on the North Lake Ave side. I know that's a problem for the Shrewsbury residents because of the music that plays from there. When we had available manpower for the land, we tried to take care of it. I know it wasn't every weekend, but we tried to do the best we could. Unfortunately, a lot of our resources this year were directed towards Indian Lake. As you know, we had a large problem at Indian Lake that hopefully will be resolved, where we could commit more officers to Lake Quinsig next year. But most of our resources, unfortunately, this year, 2 days a week were committed to Indian Lake for the jet ski problem over there from the out-of-towners. Because of the boat we have, the small boat, we were able to patrol Flint Pond a lot more than we were last year. I know the Shrewsbury boat can't get over there. We went over there as much as we could. We did meet a few residents that were on the Flint Pond side, and they appreciated us getting over there. And it'd be a good thing if Shrewsbury gets jet skis next year because they are a very integral part of water safety, as I saw this year with Mass Environmental Police bringing their jet skis down.
I agree. Again, thank you. And thanks for going on Flint Pond. I live on Flint Pond, so we really appreciate all the efforts. And it was effective. It did seem to calm down a little bit. There's a lot of people there and stuff, but certainly the speeds seemed slower and the music was a little lower. So that your efforts paid off. So thanks. That said, it's probably never going to go away. That's the life of law enforcement, I guess. So we really appreciate your efforts. Miss Amory.
Okay, so I worked with Jessica Rabokis or Angela Snell, maybe both of them, to identify the people responsible for the database on the docks at the Shrewsbury Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us a Excel spreadsheet for me to look at that is sort of the best that they can download.
Mm-hmm.
I took a look at that. I'm going to develop a proposal and bring that over to the geography department at Worcester State College. They have a GIS system there. and we're going to brainstorm how to enhance that database so that it meets both that need for identifying where a dock is and then tying the license to it, and then also being able to respond to a problem at an address and associate it with a dock. So that's the plan for this coming month.
Wow, that's a great effort. Thank you.
Well, it hasn't begun yet, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like it. I think that's going to be very, very helpful. That's fantastic. Thank you. Is that all?
That's all I've got for now.
All right. Mr. Bossier.
No report.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Nelson.
A couple of comments. There's reduced activity from the rowing community on the lake. Most of the boat club rowers are rowing before work hours. It's decreasing as it's 40 degrees on cold mornings as the sun comes up. The few people still rowing are those competitive rowers practicing for October races and other locations. But I think that's been balanced by the college and high school eights. They're out there later at 7 or 8 in the morning. So the lake isn't that empty in terms of rowing. It's just a different group out there.
Okay, good. So, yeah, the lake's getting used, and it's a really, you can tell the seasons by who's out there using the lake and what time of day they're using it. So, always sad to see fall come because the bad weather is going to be right behind it. But that said, we had great skating last year, so I hope we get a couple of days of that this year too. But great, I'm glad you're out there. Get to get out there and enjoy it because I know you kind of missed half the summer, right? So, good, that's awesome. All right, so that's the report's being done. Yeah, we can move on. And number 8, the discussion and vote to temporarily authorize the chair to issue a no-wake zone order with no further vote from the commission for exceedingly high water levels. So Mr. Powers kind of, let the cat out of the bag here for those of you who haven't read the agenda. But basically what we're asking for is we had to call a no-wake zone twice, which I think is unprecedented in my life on the lake. I know we've done it in the past, or the commission has done it, but this year seemed to be a very stormy year for rain. Anyway, the issue comes on. We got to gather the commissioners together rather quickly. The first one was on a Friday night, so that was a very challenging thing to accomplish, to get everybody in the same room at the same time type thing, which we didn't pull off very smoothly. And the second time was a little bit better, but it was still the second time the water came up very fast. It was like, okay, that's all right. And then the next thing we know, it was well, I checked it in the morning and we were okay. And at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 or 12, it was way too high. So I'd like to be able to get this so when the lake gets to a level that we feel is too high, then we can call for the no wake zone and also call to remove it when the lake goes back down. That part was a little bit smoother, and it happened a little faster the second time than the first time. The first time it kept raining, so that was the problem there, but it didn't go up as fast. So this time it went up real fast and it went down pretty fast, so that was good. But we measure the flow going over the Hovey Dam, and we also measure the water height as well. So that's kind of how we determine what's going to be too high. I mean, I can look outside and look at my dock as well, because that's sitting in the water at the same level. So when it's high based on that as well. But and I will say thank you to the residents of the lake. being good sports. I know it was hard, and they want to get out there and use the lake, and the summer's short, and I understand all that, but I really appreciate your cooperation and courtesy and common sense. By sticking with it till the end. So that was helpful for everybody. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to. I'm sorry. Is there any discussion or comments on this? I don't see any, so I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to temporarily authorize the chair to issue a no-wake zone order with no further vote from the commission for exceedingly high water levels.
And okay, and I just want to amend the thing to say that the motion will expire December 31st, 2001, or the temporary authority will expire. So we have an exit date.
2021.
Yeah.
Not 2001.
Oh, sorry. Did I say 2001? 2021. Sorry. Going back in time. December 31st, 2021. And we have a
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
second the amendment
I
motion.
already did.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
We'll do a roll call. Mr. Pica,
Aye.
Sergeant Vitos,
Aye.
Sergeant Garryman,
Aye.
Ms. Amory,
Aye.
Ms. Labaziere,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
All right, I vote aye. All right, so voted. Thank you. Number 9 rather. Update the lake management plan. Okay, so we did the treatment. That's basically the good news this year. We did a little bit late, but we got it through it. It was fairly effective. We pulled back a little bit on Flint Pond, only because it was a little bit later in the season, and we figured we could save a little bit of money. But we did get in there and get the root of it, especially in the middle of the pond. So that worked out good. And it also set us up for next year where we can use a different chemical called sonar, and I think it's sonar. And that will be a much more systemic treatment next year. The other part of it we did, and this is exciting because we were able to execute the pilot program on Half Moon Bay. I think Mike indicated that earlier, that it did knock back the milfoil. And we're going in there. The next step in that is we're sending a diver back into the water in the next few days or so. I think it's actually sometime early next week to go back and survey to see how it affected the Potamogetans. We found no rares or the actual Vasii, the rare plant in Half Moon to begin with. But we did find a very similar plant there, and so we decided that's probably even better because it would respond the same way as Vasii to a chemical. So, and then if it does kill it, we don't kill the rare. So that's good. So we did that. I know Jacqueline had mentioned that they had very good luck against the milfoil on Indian Lake with that chemical Persilicore. So that's good news. Also, when we did the survey, we had a control area which was over by Old Faith, which has a very, very dense crop of milfoil in it. We're hoping to go over there. If this works in Half Moon, then we're gonna go back to Natural Heritage and say, well, it's not hurting it. So, we'd like to be able to treat in Old Faith as well. But we used Old Faith as a control area. Old Faith did in fact have Vasii, had the rare Potamogeton in it. So, but that wasn't the bad news. The bad news was we also found water chestnut in the pond over there, and a pretty good crop. Not real big, but big enough where we had to deal with it. It was already kind of had the fruit on it, had the seed on it. We got out as much as we could. We had volunteers from the watershed that came in there, and I think Barb can name all those guys, but I want to thank Barbara and that crew for helping out. We went over there and yanked it out, put it in plastic bags, brought it over to the Shrewsbury Boathouse. In case you're wondering what that was, Sergeant Vitos, that was a bag of weeds. not the bad kind. And well, I guess they were the bad kind, but they so that worked out good. So I want to also thank Angela for arranging that with the town to come get those things. And we're going to go back there again next year. We're going to have to, because I'm confident some of those things did in fact seed, because I found seeds inside, in the soil in the beach. So I'm pretty sure that some of them took, and that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on for. And I know that the watershed is going to post a picture of what a water chestnut plant looks like, so everyone can be on the outlook. It's on the lake now. This stuff is very aggressive. And if you want to get an idea of how it can take over a pond, you can visit Patch's Pond or Patch Reservoir in Worcester, because they have quite a crop of it over there. So it doesn't take long. So that was that. So it's good we got the stuff that we got. Moving forward, we're gonna. The other part is we treated in Newton Pond, and Newton Pond was also successful. I actually got a couple of emails from residents in Boylston thanking us for doing it. I know that our next step there is to go through the permit process to get the drawdown accomplished. So we will not be doing a drawdown this year. We did not knock back the milfoil. We're going to hit it again next year over there, and hopefully we'll have the permits in place for Newton Pond drawdown. So next year at this time we'll be able to arrange that. And I apologize to the residents over there, because I know it's frustrating for them. They've been going through this a long time, but it's in the works, and so that's all good. We're going to spend the winter kind of going over and resulting in ESS sent me a proposal today to do some weed mapping for the lakes. We have an updated weed map we haven't done in a couple of years, so just to make sure we know where I noticed, especially on Flint Pond, that the milfoil has gotten to a whole bunch of different areas now that it wasn't before. So, we're going to have to kind of update that and make sure we're hitting all the areas effectively that we can treat. So that's kind of the lake management plan from the environmental standpoint. Sergeant Vitos and Sergeant Guyman, kind of went over what the law enforcement plan was for next year, so we're looking forward to that. And I can say that we feel Indian Lake's pain with jet skis, or I shouldn't say the jet skis, because I think that's an unfair thing to say. It's the operators of the jet skis that are the real problem. The machines themselves are fairly harmless. So that's the update on the Lake Commission. I mean, on the Lake Management Plan. Is there any questions or comments?
My only comment, Mr. Chair, is in a butter to the Half Moon Cove is it will need to be treated for Eurasian milfoil next year. It's still there. And I have some concerns that relative to some complaints registered by some abutting residents that it does have an adverse effect on the impellers of motors. So that was my comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments regarding the management plan? All right. So the next number 10 is to discuss and vote on special permit applications for crew events with request to restrict public access for 10/16, the Snake Regatta, and 10/30 for the Wormtown Chase. That sounds like a new one, the Wormtown Chase.
Mr. Chair, a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the vote for the Snake Regatta to change the event from the 16th to the 17th?
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah. Sorry. The 10/16 Snake Regatta from the 10/16 event to a 10/17.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, there was a typo on the date. That should be 10/31. It's now would like to run it a 2-day regatta rather than a single day. We requested a permit for the 30th already.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because
So-
last meeting you voted a permit for the 30th, and now we're looking for a permit for the 31st as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Thank you. All right. So any discussion on either of these regattas?
I have one quick question for law enforcement. They had mentioned that they would, something about when they were taking their boats out. Will their boats also be available for these dates?
Yes, I can answer that. This is Sergeant Vitols. We do have arrangements for the 9th and the 10th currently, and if requested, we could do further dates, obviously depending on weather.
Okay, thank you.
Worcester has all dates covered.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So that's Columbus Day weekend, the 17th.
No, Columbus Day weekend is the weekend before, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so take a motion to approve the changes.
I make a motion to approve the changes for the special permit application for crew events with respect to restricting public access.
Columbus Day is October 11th.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll do a vote. Mr. Pica?
Aye.
Sergeant Vitos?
Aye.
Sergeant Guyman?
Aye.
Miss Amory?
Aye.
Miss Labossiere?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Okay, and then Mr. Collins, I vote aye. Okay, thank you. So voted. Number 11. Okay, discussion. Regarding vehicle rentals on Lake Quinsigamond. So there's been, and I think you guys went over this. Some of the people here went over it last month. There was someone who applied to rent jet skis on Lake Quinsigamond. So in the rules of Lake Quinsigamond, the commission has purview, and anyone who wants to rent a boat, a motorboat, a motorized boat, which means any boat with a motor that's propelled by a motor. So they need to have written permission or a permit from the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. And I'm looking up what rule that is right now. But so they need to have that. This is just a preliminary discussion regarding. Could you look up that? A preliminary discussion regarding what we may offer out for stipulations in order to do that if we were to develop a permit, a special permit. So it's rule 14. No person shall conduct a powerboat rental agency or carrying of passengers for hire on the waters of Lake Quinsigamond, except as prescribed by and specified in a permit to be issued by the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. So I wanted to kind of go over some of those specifications that I'm just proposing, and you should have gotten a email with this document in there. Is there a way I can share on here, Angela?
Yeah, there's a button at the bottom that you hit share my screen.
Okay, telecamera, stop, there's my hand up. Present now?
Yes, present now.
Present now, okay. Can you guys see that?
Not yet.
I didn't do it right? Your entire screen, a window. Okay. No, I can't read this. I don't see it. The darn window. I got that. That's the window I want to share. And how about now?
No.
Nope.
All right. Okay. So I think I'm on the same Same thing. So I can't, the window's on the same, unfortunately, I think is my, all right, so share the window. Yeah, this is, I'm sharing it. I know, it's not letting me do it. All right, I'll read them for you. All right, so it's, and again, we don't have to get into a big discussion about this. I just want to have that there. You have the document. You can kind of review this over into next month. This is something we should probably get, you know, we'll probably end up going to some type of, I don't know if you have to go to a hearing for it, but we can at least kind of get well, it's over the next couple of months that we have left to kind of get an idea of where we want to go. But basically, you have to have a valid motorized boat rental permit issued by the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. You have to be a valid rental business. So you have to have a license, and doesn't have to be Shrewsbury or Worcester or Grafton. It has to be from somewhere in the Commonwealth. A valid business address and contact information, including phone number. A valid operating location on Lake Quinsigamond. A person from the rental company must be on site during all operational hours. An operating vessel equipped to tow or assist a disabled vehicle must be on site during all operating hours. So if they break down or they run out of gas or something happens to them, they get in trouble somehow, someone can go get it. All vessels to be rented must have a valid Massachusetts registration, have all safety equipment, display the name of the rental company in at least 3-inch block lettering with contrasting color on the hull, and be fully insured as a rental. So we want to make sure that everybody has an identifying name on there, so we know, that they're from the rental company, and everyone else can kind of identify them easily. Business including vessels must be fully insured as a rental company with the LQC as a named insured for $2 million. Also, a waiver incorporating the rules of Lake Quinsigamond must be signed by any and all operators and passengers, and the waiver should include the language, "I have read and understand the rules of Lake Quinsigamond." And I'm sure law enforcement can speak to this, that people they'll come back and say, "Oh, I didn't know that was a rule." All rentals must be at least 21 years old. All renters must obey all laws of the Commonwealth regarding boats and all rules of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission. So that would be part of the the permit application and the requirements. Does that kind of make sense to everybody?
Well, the only
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sergeant Vito, I just want to make a comment regarding the renters on the lake for jet skis. What we find from a police department standpoint is typically the people who are renting these jet skis are doing so and not understanding or pretending not to understand the rules and regulations of the lake and the waterways. So what we find is that these particular people are the ones we have the most issues with.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't, I agree, Sergeant. I mean, that's why I wanted to have the waiver in there, so they can't say they don't know. Or if they don't know, then if they say, well, I didn't realize that, and you can say, well, you signed the waiver, you don't understand them. It's another rule to say, you should probably go back and turn
with that said, are we having the individual who operates a jet ski sign the waiver, or just the renter, basically the company themselves?
No, the operator.
The owner of the company. The operator.
No, the operator has to sign it. My understanding is, because I've talked to a few people who rent boats, including community sailing, and the sup yoga people and all that, they all make you sign a waiver, because they don't want to get sued for stuff. So I want to make sure that the companies and this is if we even allow a company to do this. I'm not saying that that's a given, but if that's the case, then we should have some policy in place to say, okay, it's got to be safe. But I don't want any like fly by night. I wouldn't want any fly by night businesses on here that are just renting out to anybody and they don't care. And that's what we're running into out there right now. And I believe that some of the jet ski rental companies they were using machines that weren't even registered, or the trailers weren't registered. So it's not, and they're carrying them over the Jersey barriers at Browning Beach, and it's just kind of the wild, wild west out there. So yeah, I would tie all waivers. All these rules have to be obeyed by the operator, and the renter, and the person who's renting them. But they have to be, and the riders as well. So if someone's a 16-year-old can't be riding around on a jet ski after someone rented it and handed it off to them, that wouldn't be allowed, that kind of thing. So we want to be as tight as possible. But anything you think, the two sergeants, what you think would be the best way to do it, I'm all ears.
Because I haven't participated in the actual permitting stuff, is that something that you would solely initiate, or is that something that'd be voted on by the commission?
Oh, no. That's a vote.
Okay.
That's a vote. Yeah. And, I would heavily rely on, at least from my opinion, from my vote, I'd heavily rely on guidance from law enforcement.
The only that I've seen this here is from Southbridge. It's a gentleman from Southbridge.
Yeah, New England jet ski rentals. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only issue I've seen this here, where he drops the jet skis off, and they always dock over on Browning Beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One concern I have with the proposed regs are where these people would site their operation. We should know where they're going to be sited in terms of where's the locale that they're operating out of, and whether that's okay in terms of they should not be using, for instance, boat ramps to site their operation. If the general public wants to put their boats in and out of there, that would be an unfair encumbrance on the general public in terms of putting their boats in and out. So that may be something we have to take a look at as to where these operations would actually be physically sited, and then where they operate out of. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good point. I will say this, that it's illegal to operate any business out of a boat ramp, out of a state boat ramp. So that shouldn't happen. I thought I worded it has to be a location that's legal, which a boat ramp would not be. But we can literally define that in there and say boat ramps are off limit. I just want the people on the at the location on the lake, so there's some responsibility there, so they're not dropping stuff off and just taking off, and have fun. Because if something goes wrong, or I don't want law enforcement to be towing broken down jet skis back to Browning Beach because something happened. That's not what they're out there for. If there's an emergency or whatever, yeah, okay, but if you're running a rental business, it does, but by the way, this isn't just jet skis. This would pertain to any motorboat, any boat with a motor on it that anyone would propose to rent. And because we have we give out permits doesn't mean we have to give out a permit. The commission should be fully satisfied that this is a legitimate business, a responsible business, and that's run safely with equipment in good repair, and that they're going to be able to manage it. So I'm going to ask that that this kind of goes into review, and you can digest it, and we can circle around next month. Is that fair? Okay. Shaking ahead. All right. If there's, are there any more questions or comments? Can we move on?
One quick question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Would they physically show up at a meeting to request a permit, or would it be submitted by
Oh, yeah.
mail?
Yeah. We want them to come in.
Okay.
They're going to want to come in because they're going to want to, yeah.
Okay.
They don't want to come in for the vote. Similar to what, what I would encourage them to come in every month because there's probably going to be, discussion about what activity, if this is even allowed, there would probably be discussions on, operational issues and things like that. So I would like to see them in. Maybe we can require that they have to, show up for the Lake Commission meetings. And the watershed shows up. Jacqueline Burmeister shows up. Patrick shows up. So they can
Consistent.
That's consistent. They can, it's good to have communication with us if you're doing that. So, good point. Any other questions? Comments? All right. That we'll move on and come back to that next month. All right. So, a discussion regarding a temporary jet ski ban on Lake Quinsigamond. All right. I can't share the screen on this one either, but I will say this. This was a the state approved a ban. I'm not sure how this happened, but the state approved a ban on jet skis on Indian Lake. Indian Lake is not owned by the city of Worcester. It's owned by the Commonwealth. It's a DCR great pond. It's got a DCR ramp on it. It's over 75 acres, so it falls into the statute where you can't ban them. So I'm not sure how it happened, but it happened. My concern with that is there was a lot of problems on Indian Lake, and I get that, but there were a lot of problems on Lake Quinsigamond too. I would say it probably equals the issues we had over there. My feeling is that they're basically moving the issue from one neighborhood to another. We may have a more robust law enforcement effort over here. And I'm happy to say that's if that's the case, that's good. I don't wish any ill will on Indian Lake, but I'm thinking that if they're going to do it there, then we should probably look at using this. And I use the exact same language in the thing. That document should also have been it should be in your email. That Worcester used, and I just kind of inserted, Lake Quinsigamond in there instead of Indian Lake. So this is really this.
Chair,
go ahead,
Mr. Chair. This is Sergeant Grom.
Yep.
Just so you know, like residents of the lake can also not use jet skis on Indian Lake. It's not just out of towners.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was earlier on. That was Mr. Power's concern. And I'm going to be frank and upfront with this. I am not a real proponent of banning anything. I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's going to be proved to be an ineffective solution because there's nothing stopping anyone from going out and buying a boat and just going on the lake with that, instead of a jet ski. The boats and the jet skis are, some of those jet skis, some of the ones on this pond at least, are expensive machines.
If I can speak, once again, the issue with Indian Lake compared to Lake Quincy, which was enforcement, that was the big issue. The people we talked to at Indian Lake, there was no enforcement because we didn't have a boat that can go on the water at Indian Lake until this year for Worcester. So that was the difference. For years past, everyone knew that you can go to Indian Lake, you can bring 15, 20 jet skis, and it wasn't an issue because there wasn't a boat on the water. And it quelled the problem this year when we had a boat on the water, and then it reduced it halfway, and then the ban reduced it all the way. That's not an issue on Quincy where you have environmental, Worcester, and Shrewsbury. out on the lake. That was the issue with the jet skis there. The people we talked to was they came from Lawrence and Fitchburg and Fall River because there was no police presence on the lake. That was the go-to for these people to go to Indian Lake.
Right. And you're right. I will say this, that not every weekend is the environmental police in Worcester and Shrewsbury all on there at the same time.
That's correct.
And also, these same people, because I follow their Facebook page, are on Flint Pond because, again, there's no, they understand that there's no law enforcement over there most of the time. When you guys came over, and last year I think it was too, when the environmental police had that boat, I think it's the one you guys are using, it surprised a few folks. We put up no wake signs under the Route 20 bridge, but I can tell you that this is a rodeo over here on a Sunday afternoon. So they have a beautiful spot on Oak Island to gather and party and beat and launch off of. So it's very, very attractive. I think it's more attractive to them than Browning Beach, because Browning Beach is easier for law enforcement to get at. Trust me, it has been an issue over here, and we've had numerous complaints and confrontations between jet skis, and it's the same thing as over there, Sergeant Garman. They're riding in gangs. They're five across, and the other challenge we have on Lake Quinsigamond is the geography of it, is the shape of it, because we're long and skinny. So especially when you're down in the north and south basins of the lake, it's just havoc sometimes. And Flint Pond over here is relatively small. So this is also a dangerous place on a Sunday afternoon. So that, I think we're having the same problems. And my anticipation is that the people who can't go to Indian Lake are going to come here. And, I will say this, that towards the end of the season, because of your efforts, they all started to slow down. So law enforcement, education, all of that stuff has really been helpful and really been effective. But I'm concerned that it's going, it's going to get enhanced here because we're shutting off Indian Lake. So this is something I'm putting in front of the commission to see what your thoughts are and what your pleasure will be on it. And again, we don't have to get into a big debate tonight about it, but you can kind of take it, look at it, take the next month to kind of consider what it's all about. If we were to do this would also involve a hearing. So we'd have to spend some time doing that stuff. But this is basically a message out to the state. Is that
I'm not sure how, with the particulars of Worcester, but I know the environmental police cannot enforce the ban on the city of Worcester can enforce the ban, but the environmental police cannot enforce the ban. That's how it is on Indian Lake. The environmental police cannot enforce the no jet ski ban on Indian Lake, where the city of Worcester can.
Okay.
I don't know how that came about, but it's weird.
Well, I believe it came about. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe it came about because the statute's pretty clear that if you're a great pond over 75, you can't ban them. So I think that what the environmental police should be concerned with, that they'd be in conflict with the law, and maybe hey, you guys want to do it from Worcester and Shrewsbury, go ahead, but we're not doing it. So that may be it. I don't know what they're there's some rules of Lake Quinsigamond that they don't recognize either. So that's I'm hoping also, this is kind of off the subject, but I'm hoping to get together with Shrewsbury, Worcester, and environmental police and kind of go over the rules of Lake Quinsigamond, so we're all on the same page of what those are. I had a conversation a while back with, I think, 4 different law enforcement agencies one Wednesday during the day, and the takeaway was that none of the officers I talked to, including environmental, understood the rules. Lake Quinsigamond. Like our speed limit's different, and we're actually 5 miles an hour slower than the state limit and things like that. It was interesting, and this isn't a criticism of any law enforcement. I mean, if you don't, how would you know? So I think that's the onus is on us to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. I'm not asking anyone to do anything wrong or in conflict with what the state statutes are, but you want to keep it safe. So, any other questions or comments about that?
Mr. Chair, if I
Yep.
could, my only other comment would be that if the city of Worcester is going to restrict jet ski operation on Near Lake, it's inevitable that there'll be more on Lake Quinsigamond next season. And that will put, in my mind, some pressure on probably a need for greater enforcement on the part of law enforcement agencies, be it the town of Shrewsbury, city of Worcester, or the Department of, Environmental
Protection.
Yeah.
Environmental police.
Yeah, the environmental police. So my concern is probably going to be more jet skis, and there'll be more of a need for enforcement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments regarding this? Okay. Moving on. Number 13, update from Jacqueline Burmeister, Senior Environmental Analyst of Worcester DPW and Parks. It seems like the title keeps getting longer and longer, Jacqueline.
Well, actually, recently my
You have a new title.
department has changed.
Okay.
Yes, I am no longer with DPW. I am with the Department of Sustainability and Resilience.
Is that a new department?
A brand new department that was created
cool.
in response to the creation of the Green Worcester Plan, which hopes to make Worcester the greenest mid-sized city in the country.
Oh, yeah.
So they've moved us over to there to continue doing most of what we're doing already, just with a few new coworkers. Anyway, I know it's really late, so I just wanted to show you a few really quick things. I'm going to present now, and yeah, I'm trying to share my whole screen. There we go. So the first thing I wanted to show you was water chestnut ridge. I know there are some pictures on the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association page, but this is the plant that everyone is talking about. If you see it, it's very unique, and it reproduces us, as the chair mentioned, very, very quickly. These spiky barbs are the seed. They could live in the soil up to 10 years. So you really want to catch a plant before it sinks, because one plant has many, many barbs and can produce, I think there was an estimate of like up to an acre of plants in the following year. So just real quick, we go out onto Lake Quinsigamond twice a month. We were recently out there. I think today, we were out there today. I don't have that most recent data, but we were also out there the 14th and 15th of September. The temperature is finally coming down in the water, and the clarity is coming up. During this summer, we noticed an unusually high amount of turbidity in the water, probably relating to the rain events, but we also did a couple samples for cyanobacteria, which are those blue-green algae. And in line with what we were seeing, what our volunteers were collecting, we were seeing some higher numbers. So this is something we're going to evaluate a little bit more in the upcoming year. But for now, we do see the water clarity coming up again, back to what we would normally expect this time of year. We have some, I just want to talk really quickly. We had a really great successful end to our Angler event series, which is a series that the Lake Quinsigamond Commission helped put on this year, 13 event series that really highlights the relationship between fishing and water quality, and was in collaboration with all about 10 organizations throughout the city and Commonwealth. We held a Learn to Fish Day at Coe's Reservoir, and it was a great success. Definitely something we'd be looking to do again in the future, perhaps at Lake Quinsigamond. We have some upcoming events that you might be interested in. One it's not by the city of Worcester, it's by Arts Worcester. It's Urban Green and Blue. It is an arts exhibit of local artists who are painting scenes of green and blue spaces in and around Worcester. So Lake Quinsigamond and Gouche Park, I believe, are some of the subjects of these paintings. There's an opening reception for this exhibit, which will be running for about 6 weeks in the Parkview Room in Worcester, Massachusetts. I believe this is the website that you can go to, Arts Worcester, Urban Green and Blue. It's going to be a really cool exhibit. Just local artists depicting local places that we all love. There's a speaker series as part of it, which we will be presenting at as the Lakes and Ponds program, discussing the Worcester Cyanobacteria Monitoring Program, which is 3 lakes in the Lake Quinsigamond watershed are a part of Flint Pond, Newton Pond, and of course, Lake Quinsigamond. We have gotten the August reports for the Lake Quinsigamond, the Worcester Cyanobacteria Monitoring Collaborative. As I mentioned, we were seeing higher levels of cyanobacteria in August. So this is something that the volunteers who are much appreciated. We have quite a few volunteers from the watershed who go to those 3 lakes every month and collect these samples and look at them under the microscope and are helping us develop these new methods to predict these things from happening. If you are interested in reading these reports, they're all available on a website I'll put in the chat now called Worcester Cyanobacteria Monitoring Collaborative. If you go to worcester.ma.gov/WCMC, you could read them all for all of the lakes that are involved in the program by going to the PDFs on the bottom to see the most recent reports there. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Jacqueline, one quick question. What
Yeah.
is the maximum depth that water chestnut can grow in?
So the maximum depth is not necessarily determined. It is more determined by sunlight. So, and then the soil types and mostly that sunlight, right? Like when these things are seeding from the bottom. And so if light is able to reach the bottom, then it will be able to seed and grow. And probably a little bit further than that as well. Yeah. So we've seen them in water. Most of the water bodies that we see them in now are probably up to 10 feet, maybe 10, 12 feet. But I don't have experience seeing them in much more than that, but I imagine it can grow more than that if there's more light.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jacqueline. Always informative. And number 14, update from a representative from the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association.
Hello, I don't have much of a report. I will save my slides for next month on our bacteria monitoring. We have one more round of sampling and I'll just include that instead of rushing through it tonight. We are looking for a volunteer to organize a cleanup on October 23rd. The town of Shrewsbury is doing a cleanup and we could use some help over at Oak Island or some other parks, Gouche Park, if anybody wants to volunteer. Myself and some other people will be out of town that day, so we won't be able to participate, the usual suspects. So if we have anybody else that wants to volunteer, that'd be great. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Barb. So we're going to set the date of the next meeting, which is
27th.
October 27th. Is that the last Wednesday?
Yep.
Yes, that's
Does we have on there, Angela?
Yes.
Okay.
that's the date. Yep.
Okay. So October 27th, 7 p.m. At this point right now, you're thinking that's also going to be virtual, Angela?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. So October 27th, 2021 is our next meeting, 7 o'clock. Same channel. And Also with that, I will take a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, I'm gonna go through the roll. Mr. Pica,
Aye.
Sergeant Vitos. Is he still with us?
Aye, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Sergeant Garman, I think I saw him get off.
Aye.
Oh, never mind. He's still on here. Thank you, Sergeant. Thanks for sticking it out. Emery,
Aye.
Mr. Bossier,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Thank you. Thanks, Angela, Kevin, Jessica, and all the folks who attended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.